You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Jane, one of the things that the work that you do, the work that Tim Wise does, Linda Tirado, the work that you talked about these evangelicals, and I thought about for a second Brother Hargrove, Jonathan Wilson Hargrove, who was in that world and who has been working with Reverend Dr. William J. Barber. What's very interesting is they talk about how they love Jesus, yet when you go to their conferences, you never hear anything about the poor. They'll have tax folks there before they have folks talking about the poor. Then what you then see is you see these attacks then manifest themselves in public policy. And the reality is that really is now the hardcore base of the GOP. That is, and I'll just use it for the purpose of this, these white conservative evangelicals, these melanemic conservative evangelicals. And the deal is they won't even have discussions with those of us who are melanated evangelicals who love Jesus. My wife is an ordained minister, but they are afraid to sit down with Reverend Dr. Barber. They're afraid to sit down with folks like that because they don't want to have a real conversation about the Bible and Jesus and what Christians really should be doing in this country.
Well, they don't even want to see Jesus as he's described in the Bible, with kinky woolly hair and feet of bronze. We white folks, I'm sorry, but that's what we have to call us. We pale faces, one of the major differences between me and you is when pale faces come into a new environment, they immediately adjust the environment to fit their needs. And if it's religion, they do it there too. We want to kneel to somebody who looks like us. That is a mental problem that we have, and we need to get over it. And we won't get over it until we are in the position in which we have placed people in this country for the last 300 years. We have to let people find out how it feels to be on the bottom. And white folks are scared to death. Melanemic people, pale faces, are scared to death that that's what's going to happen to them. I don't think it is. I think that people of darker complexion, melanaceous people, are more intelligent than that. They know what happens when you set up a system like that, and the people who are on the top are making it work for them. People say to me, it was good enough for my father, it's good enough for me. It wasn't good enough for my father, and it wasn't good enough for your father. It wasn't good enough for any of our fathers as long as we were divided on the basis of the amount of a chemical in our skin. It makes no sense. You can't justify it. It's unjustifiable.
Reese, the point Jane just made there, Mitch Landrieu literally made that same point in his book. He said, hey, white people, they're not going to do to us what we did to them. This whole, I'm telling you, what we're seeing right now, I called this, Reese, in 2009. I was at CNN. I told John Avlon, we're living in the world of white minority resistance. I said, they see the demographics changing, the browning of America, and they can't handle it because in their view, this is what it means when it comes to what America means, the flag, all that sort of stuff. They have never had to take into account what we think. But also, I listened to CJ when we talked about he didn't like Jane telling him what he should think. Well, hell, I don't hear CJ calling out his fellow black conservatives when they say folk like you on the plantation, when they sit here and use that language condemning African Americans who reject the Republican Party but who choose to support Democrats.
Mm-hmm. And your question.
Woo, this conversation is off the chain. Y'all just came back swinging. Well, you were right, absolutely, because I think black conservatives do like to use that language about being on the plantation and stuff like that. I mean, as black people, we have these intra-black battles. You know, you got the people that talk about you if you're Democratic, you having a butter biscuits and all this other kind of stuff. There's enough insults and slurs to go around. But I kind of do feel like it's an in-house conversation in terms of what's black and who gets to determine what black is and what you sound like as black. But I do have much respect for Professor Elliott. I'm appreciating this new language that I'm hearing, pale faces, melanemic. I'm definitely going to have to incorporate that into my vocabulary. But in terms of me giving up black, I'm going to say the melanemic need to go first. When they give up white, then I'll give up black. Until then, I'm black and I'm proud. So as Dr. Carr said, go with God. I support you, sister, in your plight. But until the melanemic pale faces give up white supremacy and all that good stuff, then I'm going to be over here and I'm going to be black and I'm going to be proud to be black. But on another note, though, I do think, though, that the reality is that we don't want revenge. We just want to be left the hell alone. And, you know, black people ain't sitting up there. We ain't got pitchforks. We ain't the ones marching in the University of Charlottesville talking about blood and soil. That was the pale faces that was doing that. That wasn't us. So we just want to be left the hell alone. We just want to be, if we get a ticket, can we get a ticket and go? We ain't got to be shot by the police. If we call the police because we in distress, we want to be able to get help instead of get shot. That's what we want. When a black woman like me goes to have a baby, I don't want to have to consider, am I going to die in childbirth because black women have a black maternal mortality rate that's 3 to 4 times more of the pale faces. That's all that I want. And so if the melanemic will understand that, instead of trying to hold back on what everybody gets because they want to make sure that we don't get something, to go on ahead and give a little, then we can all be greater. Then I don't know. But the reality is, yeah, black people, all we want to do is just be left alone. All we want to do is just be great and live our best black ass lives. That's all we want.
May I answer?
Jane, then CJ. Go ahead.
Yeah. Would it help if we would all simply remember that Columbus didn't discover America, that it was discovered by Africans between 20,000 and 10,000 years before Columbus was a gleam in his father's eye? Would it help if you realized that you were here first, and because of the melanin in your skin and your ability to live, even with the hole in the ozone layer getting larger and more sunlight being allowed to enter our environment, that you will be here last? Do you not realize that the reason you are going to be in the majority, numerical majority in the future, is because you are going to live longer because of what we melanemic people have done to this country and to this world with our behaviors? Do you realize that only 18% of the population of the earth is classified as white? 18%. We have been in the minority all these years, and we are determined that we are not going to be the numerical minority in the United States of America. To fight that is to fight the inevitable. It is coming. We've got to get melanemic people used to the idea that if they would trace their DNA back far enough, they would find that a part of their DNA, a percentage of their DNA, came from a country in Africa. We are all from the same place, whether we want to admit it or not.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.